Have you guys ever heard of the Long Island Slashening?
Oh yeah, didn't a bunch of kids get like killed or something?
Yep.
Are you able to consent to this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool.
You know, this stuff might actually be a little weaker than I initially thought. 'Cause I'm pretty sure I'm still dreaming.
Two people were murdered in this very garage. It's just so
Crazy.
hot.
What?
If your attacker is a woman, punch her in the twat. I think that hurts also. Shalom.
Dope, right?
Here we are. I think we're on.
Hello.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, Maestro.
Hey, thank you.
Bravo.
Hi, Lloyd and Patty.
Did you have a great time last night?
Yeah, it was a great night. The screening went really well. We had a good audience. It was fun. Great to see it with other human beings that can react like you're supposed to react to a comedy and horror movie.
And you've got good. You have a background action that you see better on the big screen too. And that
Yeah.
shot and some of the fancy footwork.
A lot of things looked a lot better on the big screen. That my first time. I mean, I saw it at the drive-in, but it wasn't quite the same. But yeah, it was like, oh, you can see the background jokes that we planted in that I'd forgotten about because I haven't seen them in so long on a screen bigger than this.
That's what the fans want. They like the communal so they can discover stuff.
Yeah. We tried to plan a lot of jokes for repeat viewings and stuff into the movies, so hopefully everybody that saw it watch it again. They'll get more new jokes out of it.
Yeah, no, it's very good. It's great.
Where are you now?
I'm back in Brooklyn. I flew in today. I left at 6 a.m. this morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like we wrapped up last night. I got back to my hotel around 1:30, and then I was in a car around 3:30 going to the airport, and then it's about an hour of traffic from the airport to home. So I slept for about an hour now, so I'm good.
You'll be in top four.
That is actually possibly worse than being on a red eye.
Or working for Troma. Now, should we go back? Should we try to find Tom again? Maybe we should go.
Yeah, we lost.
Although he would be,
should we?
Well, I don't know. He hasn't texted me.
What's going on, guys? We are live We are live.
Woohoo!
He's gone again. So, we gonna bring in the other people, or what are we?
Well, Brandon,
we're gonna have a chat. We're gonna have a chat with over. So, Lloyd, thank you so much for making this possible. Last night was amazing, getting our film screened in a real proper theater. It was us and 4 Academy Award-winning movies playing last night, and we outsold all of them combined.
Wow!
I'm not surprised when you have a movie Slashening the Final Beginning, directed by #Shakespeare Shitstorm writer Brandon Bassett. You know it's going to be big night. It's going to be a historic night. Yep, James Gunn, move over. The new sheriff in town. Move over. Trey Parker.
We'll see if Disney feels the same way. Yeah, let's put in a call to Disney. Show them the Slashening.
You are very talented. It's
we need Captain America and Falcon to dock their dicks, and then I'm the guy to do that.
Well, I think you could probably contact NASA too, because or the one that keeps blowing up, Mr. Elon Musk. his stocking doesn't work very well.
That's why he's moving into comedy and doing Saturday Night Live now.
Flip over.
What's that?
Oh, Elon's. It's like why Elon's doing comedy now. He's hosting at Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you know, it's funny how these billionaire guys are now sort of celebrities. And CNBC, which I watch, is sort of a trend. You know, they have now a draft, like the football draft of stocks, you know, and they have a guy who reads minds and a young woman who has like a million followings and does makeup or something. And then they have some economists and the whole idea is like a football draft. I mean, they're really sort of making these billionaires who are not exactly the best into these celebrities, sort of, you know. Although Musk, you have to say, is he's
Yeah.
well, for the Bitcoin thing, which is polluting us, he's okay, right?
Yeah.
Musk,
Mostly.
Musk
Oh, we
was
got
what?
a question. Is Slashening and Shakespeare going to be on Troma now?
Well, at some point, but right now we're concentrating on the theatrical distribution of Slashening, the final beginning. And meanwhile, hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, written by Mr. Bassam, is playing the festival circuit. Or rather, shall I say, not playing the festival circuit. And the commission.
Well, we are single-handedly trying to save theaters right now with Slashening and Shakespeare Shitstorm. So once we do that, we'll move to Troma now.
That is very true. That's
we're swooping in to sell the tickets that Nomadland and Promising Young Woman cannot sell.
By the way, for you film fans, Maureen Dowd, who is a very amusing columnist, 30 years, I would say, with the New York Times, she wrote a column the other day about the Oscars, and I put it up on my Instagram, and I know that Brandon will agree with it. It's the truth. It's so true. I don't want to be a spoiler, but read it. It's clever, and it's aimed at people who love cinema. You know, she clearly has a knowledge of cinema, which most of these critics don't.
What was that?
I don't know.
So should we start bringing in the rest of the crew?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
See who? Yeah.
Congratulations. May I say congratulations on the film and on hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. I'm going to throw it to you. Please introduce our distinguished panel with Chelsea Holland, who was my associate director on Return to Nukem High and Return to Nukem High. Ms. Holland, thank you very much. And Tom D'Amico, who's here, associate producer on hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, and the commissioner right here. Half the commissioner. No, that's it.
Hello, Chelsea.
Awesome.
Hey. Yeah, I guess I was going to ask a couple of questions of Brandon.
Yeah, we can do that before we bring the important people in.
Yeah, let's bring everybody in. I don't know how to do that. Tom.
Okay, yeah, well, let's bring in Tom. If you're listening, let's bring in our actors. Let's bring in Marcus Bishop Wright first, who plays Ben.
See, now that's a director, Commissioner. Marcus. You see how he takes command, right?
Let's also bring in Viv, one half of the two biggest bitch assholes in the world, Viv and Bex. We have Jean Louise O'Sullivan, also a scream queen in her own right. If she's here, our lead actress, Addie Wayrich. I'm not sure if she's in the... She is! Addie! And then got to bring in my girl Friday, Merritt Evelyn Christensen, my producer. Our Stephen has in the movie too. You there, Mare?
Yeah.
There we go. Is there anybody else in the waiting room? Did I forget anyone? Aaron! Oh no! I forgot our DP Aaron. I'm so sorry.
No, don't worry about that.
Yay!
So is now the gang all here? Okay. All right, Chelsea, let's do it.
All right. I'll start with a question for Brandon, but everybody else can chime in if they would like. Brandon, while Slashing the Final Beginning stands alone, it is indeed a sequel to the Slashening. Yes. Did you feel pressure to top yourself with this one? And if so, what was your process going into making this sequel?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to top the first one. There's a lot of things in the first one that I thought we could have done better. And it, like our first movie, we made a movie called Feartown, USA, and it was pretty loose and we were happy with it. But it was what we learned on that is that we could make a movie. About halfway through the first Slashening movie, we started actually learning about filmmaking. Like, oh, we could do cool shots. We could make things look decent. But we only knew that for about half the movie. So half of it's just kind of shot, just kind of thrown together. And I always like, if I could go back and reshoot that scene, I would do this and I would do that. And actually the first 12 minutes of Slashing the Final Beginning is us basically remaking the first movie all in 12 minutes and doing all the things I would have done had I, had I known anything when we did the first one. We were about a week and a half in where I'm like, oh, we should pay attention to lighting and background and stuff like that a bit more.
Sure.
Merritt, and Aaron, you were both on the first Slash. I'm sorry, Merritt and Aaron both worked on the first Slashening too. If you have any comments or thoughts on us topping the first one?
I mean, it was brilliant. How can you top it? No, it really was just a lessons learned in how we can kind of better kind of coordinate our time and figure out how we can get more creative, especially cinematography wise, which like Aaron was great, but just how can we make shots more interesting and things more visually interesting from like a set design aspect and from pretty much anything that kind of relates visually, because we definitely upgraded with that, I think. But
it was really fun. I want to add too, I felt like this movie had a lot of opportunity where you could appreciate the improv of the actors, because we would have a shot that lasted. Like we really planned that ahead. So Brandon sat down with me with the script so much in advance, and I got to work on the original Slashening under that DP. He's one of my mentors, Mike Doyle, who shot the first Slashening. That's actually how I met Brandon to begin with, was on that film. So to get to translate it into the Slashening 2, there was just like so much. We didn't really rush, right?
Yes.
We planned everything out. We did the most we could with it. It was a lot of fun.
To piggyback off that question, and this is basically for everybody because everybody will have a relationship to this topic, some of the challenges of low-budget filmmaking, I guess I'll start with Merritt, specifically with special effects. What were some of the challenges with that, doing that on a very low budget, and what was the most difficult effect to pull off?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I feel like at that point when so much of your finances are going to just other things, understandably, it's like, how can we make the best of the best with very little? So a lot of it kind of just comes from like really digging into your roots of like being a kid in like an art class and figuring out like what supplies you can use to make what, and trying to just do everything on an ultra low budget. So yeah, I mean, we had blood by the gallon. I figured out how to make that. I got that recipe down. I felt very good about that. And then it was just kind of like, what do I have around the house? What can I create certain effects with? Food, like leftover prosthetics from other films, just literally anything I had at my disposal. And I feel like for this, I had it better figured out. The original Slashening was a little bit tougher because I think that was like the first forte into like massive special effects with, I mean, just literally like $200. Like, what can you make from that? And yeah, I think from this, like the toughest thing I made was definitely I mean, I don't want to like throw any spoilers in, but we all know what happens at the end to poor Pat. That was definitely the toughest because we had to do that in real time and actually make sure that any sort of projectile was going to work with that, which is like a really kind of tough thing when you have very limited time and like a very tender prosthetic that probably wouldn't withstand a lot of wear and tear. So you really only have one shot to do it. And we were super fortunate to do it in one shot, and it kept going. It was great. So definitely the toughest, but ultimately like the easiest in execution, but it took like 3 or 4 days of just meticulous planning and fitting. And yeah, so that ended up working out well. But yeah, I think it's honestly, I have to say too, like, I think just in my experience working in special effects, like a lot of what we do, especially in low budget, is like we want to make stuff look the best we can. And the main way that we do that is really working with the director of photography and the gaffers to try and create the best shots based around what we have. So it really has a lot less to do with like what was scripted and what can we do on that day. How can we work together to make the shots really sell? Because, ultimately, like, you could have a particular shot planned, and when you show up on set, stuff is not necessarily going to work out. So like, how can we be really like on point and make stuff work on like the flip of a dime? And Aaron was great with that. I mean, honestly, like my godsend, one of my favorite people. And Mike was great too. He truly was wonderful as well. But like Aaron, my go-to gal. Yeah, it was great. It was pretty much anything I brought her, she would go, okay, cool, this would look great in this angle and in this lighting. And we would just work together to make it work with like 30 minutes to plan. And yeah, she did a great job. So
it's so kind. I'm blushing to hear you say that, because what I wanted to piggyback with was that I don't think you blinked one time. No matter what effect Brandon wrote into the script, you just, yeah, okay, and sure. Dick docking, got it. Oh, and then a nail gun goes through. All right, and the blood will shoot up. Let's see. And we're rolling the tape back on the monitor. Like, did we get enough blood? Let's do that one again. Like, just seriously so unafraid to make 100 masks if that's what you had to do by hand overnight. Like, I just celebrate your.
It was 15, but did it.
It's incredible. You did it. It's a lot of fun. You did a great
job.
Stop.
Also, I have to add that at the live screening last night, there was a lot of love for the bong.
Oh, I love it. I worked real hard in the balls. I always do.
Love.
Great.
Oh no, on the bong.
Okay, cool. The bong. That was a whole other thing. Well, because everyone talks about the balls, and I'm like, okay, great. I did spend a lot of time on those. The bong was a whole thing. That really was. Honestly, I think if we're talking like the toughest special effects to pull off, that was probably it, because it's like, how can you literally separate a bong, make it work for several shots? How can you like throw stuff into it to make it more visually interesting? And like that took a lot of planning, and I think that was probably one of our longest like one-off shoots that we did, but super stoked with how it turned out. So
yeah.
I remember.
Sorry, go ahead.
Please chime in. No.
I
Go
was
ahead.
going to mention that we missed a shot, which made Merritt have to go basically recreate it, because we thought about all these shots we had to make. That's so bad. That was not a time I pulled through for you, right? We like shot every shot in sequence, and then we're like, oh, we forgot this one after we'd already divided it. She had to fix it. It's amazing.
It happens on literally every shoot I've been on, and that was like the easiest fix, and it was great. You were so good about it. Like everyone was. It was, yeah. Honestly, not my worst day on set. So
I wanted to ask of the actors, one of the things that I find very impressive about the performances is that, you all are obviously from a comedy background, have an improvisational background, and that shows in your hilarious delivery, but the performances are all also grounded in reality, and it really keeps the film, believable in the most ridiculous of circumstances sometimes, and sometimes the most ridiculous of dialogue. So I wanted to ask the actors about your process in finding the balance in a horror comedy with keeping it real.
I will say that a lot of it, I think it's like, even if the words, the way that the joke is that you say something funny, but you really commit to it. But then you as an actor have to like really believe. And I mean, I on the showing last night, Marcus, I was just like, oh, Marcus is such a good actor. And it's so funny to like watch like the heartfelt delivery. And it's like, but it makes it funnier. And then like, if you have, an actor like Marcus, who's like, who is grounded, and he's doing the monologue about his son, and so then that allows, I think, like there's a saying like you can take the train to Crazy Town, but you got to take the local, and it's kind of like you can't go 0 to 100 so fast, otherwise the audience gets whiplash. And I think having grounded performances make it so then you can have a bong through the head, and you can have balls, and you can have Pat's mangled little coming dick wad thing, is because you can have that because of Marcus over there, because of Marcus. You know what I mean?
Thank you, and you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I mean, the characters don't know that they're in a comedy. And so you can't telegraph that. I mean, that was the first lesson I learned from the airplane movies is it doesn't matter how ridiculous it is, the words that you're saying, you gotta sell them as if you don't think it's ridiculous at all. And that's what's gonna make it funny, not winking to the audience, like, get it, like that's, yeah.
Well, Brandon asked me to play this mega bitch character. I don't know why he would ask me to play that role. But I definitely went full method on it. I was really rude to him and everyone on set, and I just feel like that really carried through on camera for the final.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that commitment.
Anytime.
I think that's the answer, that it's easier than you think.
My next question. Thank you all. Don't think that's really great insight into the process. Lloyd, I wanted to ask you, how did you find this talented filmmaker, and what attracted you to his work and his voice as a filmmaker?
Well, we were in prison together, and I was his bitch. Brandon spent all his cigarette money on me, and eventually we met a man, kind of a, how do you call it, on Schitzel. What do you call the people that bring the Stitzel, a matchmaker, John Brennan, who you may know as one of the producers and the musicologist for Joe Bob Briggs. And the thing I know, I'm laughing my ass off on a movie called Fear Town, West. And he's a good guy. And, it's a wonderful film. And thank you all for doing it. It's terrific.
I mean, we knew how great he was from the script he wrote for Shakespeare's Shitstorm.
Hashtag.
Shakespeare. So we knew, right?
But Fear Town came before that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, in other words, I saw the progression, the oeuvre.
Okay.
The oeuvre.
Okay.
And Brandon, how do you feel about the winking at the audience? Because, Troma does that a lot. I'm a big fan of Bertolt Brecht and Thornton Wilder and Andy Warhol, and they do a lot of that. And in fact, Troma got a lot of shit for doing that in the 70s, but I noticed Deadpool does it now. It's sort of fun to see behind the curtain, or to let the audience, especially on a low budget movie where they, maybe the potato sack, I didn't see the Idaho label on it, but you know what I mean. It's sort of fun. That would be fun. Sorry,
I'm not
Mark.
a fan of it. This is where we differ and part ways. I'm not a big fan. Yeah.
Sorry, what's that, Brandon?
I said I'm not a big fan. This is where we part ways.
And that's why.
Well, no, I think it has its time and place. I think it's been overdone in recent years, and I'm more a fan of the Zucker brothers, of everybody doing stupid stuff straight faced. And I think they do it in almost everything now. Everybody's like winking at the audience too much. And even the big Marvel movies, they do that a lot, where they're not committing to it. They're just like, we're just superheroes, and I'm like, just do your thing. When less people do, like Ironic Attachment, like I thought it was great, like in like the 70s and 80s when like Chevy Chase and David Letterman would do it, but now it is like Ryan Reynolds types do it all the time, and I'm like, I don't just do your. It's like you're telling me you're funny, and.
Yeah. I never liked I'm not. Jean-Louis, what do you say? Jean-Louis, the method. How does that fit in the Thornton Wilder, Our Town, where you have a Greek chorus, no less? What is your concept of this? I mean, you have this director, obviously, clearly very highfalutin here, very intellectual. What do you say?
I mean, I love it sometimes. I think it can work really well. I think it depends on like the style of the movies. Like, but yeah, that horror, I think in a way, the B horror movies have become so popular that mainstream Hollywood is sort of adopting some of those conventions, and it just doesn't work the same way when Ryan Reynolds tries to do it. But I love the 70s and 80s Troma movies.
Yeah, thank you. But Brandon Bassam, I'm an auteur theorist. I believe in getting that once we agree on the script, and I think we agreed on it pretty fast.
Yeah.
I didn't give other than the scene with 5,000 people, which that's in the film, right? The South African bow warriors. That scene's still in the film. What? No. But the point is, once we get the script going, it's Brandon's movie, right?
Yes, yes. No, Lloyd was hands off. Let me do whatever I wanted. He gave like 1 or 2 suggestions, and that was it.
At the very beginning, before you started shooting.
And it supported me all the way.
And I begged to have a cameo. By the way. I begged. But,
and he got it.
Well, I had to audition, but.
Well, Lloyd, your cameo was very well received at the screening in North Hollywood yesterday. So,
great director of photography. Wonderful director of photography.
Yes. I actually have a question for Brandon that came in from Mr. Magoo. And Mr. Magoo wants to know, he says something he really appreciates about the movie is that it features offensive humor, but is very thoughtful and well-constructed offensive humor. And was that a challenge in the writing process?
No. No, it's not. I have literally my whole life been working on specifically doing the most offensive humor I can get away with. And I have fine-tuned it now where I don't really worry about it. I'm pretty sure going in that my judgment's correct on is this joke okay or not. It is tricky for people to do, but it is what I've like 20 plus years of. This is what I do. This is where I've found where the line is, and I know how to thread the needle. And that's part of the fun of it is, am I going to pull this off? Like this could go really badly if I don't do it well. And that's the fun of it to me.
Are you on Twitter, Brandon?
No. No, I'm not on Twitter.
That's
for
probably
myriad of reasons. Yes, yeah.
But Brandon's on Instagram. When it comes to offensive humor, Brandon has come to the
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, your Instagram is lovely.
If you enjoy pictures of my daughter, it's a great mixed with, yeah.
And they're funny. We've got some funny ones. Yeah.
Well, Brandon, to piggyback off on that topic, it seems like no one's safe from your sharp eye and tongue for satire. This movie specifically spends a lot of time mocking millennials and hipster culture. I did note that you said that you live in Brooklyn, so I can imagine that there might have been some personal experiences that led to character creation. Do you want to talk a bit about sort of when you are writing comedy, like the inspiration for your targets, if you will?
Oh, I mean, with all 3 movies, I tried to, I wanted to make a horror movie, first of all, and like all the conventions of horror stuff, I wanted to do this type of kill. And then to motivate the characters and their personalities, I was just like, what's going on right now? Like, what are people talking about right now? What's the zeitgeist? What are the trendy topics? What are people doing? And I try to incorporate that into each of the movies, like whatever the current discussions are. Like Fear Town, there was a ton of like gender roles changing around that time a lot. So I'm like, okay, I'll switch and make like the girls are the super horny, knowledgeable ones about sex, and the guys are loser virgins that can't, just little things like that. And there's a bunch of other characters had little storylines like that too. And with Slashening, there was similar stuff like that, flipping them, and then there was some other like topics about misogyny, voyeurism, stuff like that I worked into the movie. It's just what people were talking about at the time we made the movie. And then with this one, I also tried to tap into that. Like, what are the current, like, hot button issues? And all just, like, people that were around me then that were insufferable. I'm like, they're good. They're good characters for this. And I was really tired of, like, Lena Dunham, Noah Baumbach, people like that. Like, the 20-year-olds struggling to make it in the city, the problems of the super rich. Oh, I mean, do I go to Paris with my model girlfriend? Do I stay and get a job at my dad's law firm? The decisions, how do you make a decision like that? I'm going to cry about it for 2 hours. And I was just like, please murder these people. I would, they're the worst. They're the absolute worst. And I just incorporated all that, plus, every type of person that I thought was irritating at the time. And then a little class warfare in too. Not to spoil things, because I think that's a little more of a surprise, but.
And yeah, I know what you're talking about with, we're definitely trying not to spoil, because I would imagine not everybody has seen it yet. It is streaming on Laemmle Virtual Cinema. So you can go to the site, which is posted all over Troma's socials, and will be again. Please purchase a ticket and support this film and the Laemmle for wonderful Los Angeles institution. For the actors, Brandon, I know that you're a horror fan by your attention to detail in the way that you satirize slasher films and your influences. For the actors, were you previously horror fans? Were you not? Like, was there any sort of research done, or did you just approach it as you would any other part? Addie, do you want to start? Sorry.
Yeah, Brandon forced me to research by there was this thing. I was in a Sketch 201 class with Brandon, and I forget how it came up, or maybe why I got asked. Maybe I just am a reactive person. But Brandon would basically just host like movie watching night, and there'd be a group of us who had not watched the kind of like classic movie horror movies before, and then he recorded our reactions. And we don't really know, like we were like, oh, we don't really know like what maybe we want to do with like our funny reactions. But honestly, I just remember having like a really great time doing like double or triple features of movies that I had never seen before, and like I love like, and now I have an opinion on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 versus 2, and I like 1 better than 2. And it also was fun like watching it with people and getting over my fear of horror movies, and learning like what I liked and what I don't like, and kind of what is fun and campy. So I am a horror fan now, but it is purely because I must have watched, how many movies did we watch? I like 8, 9. Oh, you're muted, Brandon. You're muted. You're still muted. Oh, there you
go. We did several nights, always double or triple features. So it was probably 12 to 14. It was quite a few.
Yeah, it was a lot. So now I am. But all curated by Brandon. It was his plan all along. And then he's like, oh, and also, do you want to be the final girl in a movie? And I was like, I guess I have to. Yeah. But yeah, I said yes. That's my answer. Marcus.
I love horror. I was raised on Bela Lugosi and Freddy Krueger. So I've always been into it. And even though I love comedy, I mean, horror is basically the same thing. I mean, it's all just rhythm and trying to get leading the audience up to the reaction you want, whether it's a laugh or a yell. I love it. And I love low budget too. So I'm onto getting my hands dirty. And if you want to put a lot of blood on me in a scene, I'm all for it. I love it.
So the first movie I ever did in Hollywood was a movie called The Telling that I got cast in. And at the time, I didn't know that it was being produced by one of Hugh Hefner's girlfriends, but we ended up shooting at the Playboy Mansion, and it was this crazy like bloodbath. She was a big horror movie fan, And so that sort of set off this chain of films that I did that were a bunch of horror movies. I did some movies with Full Moon, and I did a movie with Kevin Tenney, and a bunch of horror directors. Yeah, a lot of blood. And and I became a fan of the genre. I produced a horror film a few years ago, and horror comedy have been my two kind of worlds that I've trafficked in over the past couple of years. And then I met Brandon, and I knew that he was making a horror film, and I knew that if he didn't put me in it, it would be a crime against the genre. And so I basically insisted that he murder me in this movie, and I kept texting him about it until he sent me a call sheet.
This is a question from Derek Rogers. And what was it like for the cast and crew to work with a legend like Lloyd Kaufman? And Brandon, what did you learn about filmmaking from Lloyd?
Oh, I mean, it was really super surreal, weird to have Lloyd on set. I mean, a lifelong fan since I was a little kid from USA Up All Night and the video stores grabbing movies that I should not be renting. And then to have him on set and me sort of telling him what to do, trying to steer a river. It's not really. Can't really direct him fully. You just kind of get him going in a certain direction and let Lloyd do his thing. But it was amazing. It was one of those things where I'm like, I can't believe this is what. If you told me I was doing like 10 years ago, I'd be doing this, I wouldn't believe you. That I'd be working with like an icon and a personal hero. And yeah, I mean, he just he's this sounds weird because you know what people think of Troma, but Lloyd's also forced me to be more professional, I think. Like I feel like I've stepped up my game a lot, which should show how unprofessional I was. If Troma's like, you need to be more professional. you need to elevate your game to step up to our level. So, but yeah, it was great. It was great. Lloyd's been so supportive, and having him on set was amazing. But especially, I don't know, because Addie was in a scene with him, and I don't know if Addie even really knew Lloyd prior to that.
Not really. But and that's my fault, and that is
you're fortunate. What were some of the movies that Brandon curated for you that come out of the pack?
So the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, Friday the 13th, which were fun. Of course, Halloween. Just me yelling a lot about. Oh my God. Her name, it's a J in the C, and she's the main actress, and I kept telling the actress to not get killed. And what's her name? She's in The Sound of Music. Not Julie Andrews. No, she's not. She's not in
The Sound of Music. Don't nobody help her.
It's Jamie.
Yes.
Jamie.
Yes.
Nope. Oh no.
Does the word hermaphrodite mean anything?
No,
Mr. Christopher Guest.
I lose. It's hard for me to do names, and now I'm sweating.
Well, it's a great movie.
I want to say Jamie Lynn Spears. I keep thinking of every single Jamie Lannister from Game of Thrones. Jamie, like literally, and I know, and I want to say Jamie Loftus, who's a comedian in Los Angeles. Jamie Christ. And you can, Brandon, just tell me what it is.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. You saw me get close. Jamie Lynn Spears. Jamie Lee Curtis. And I just kept yelling for Jamie Lee Curtis to not.
Addie is the perfect horror movie audience because she gets super into it, yells a lot, screams. It's a lot of fun.
Great.
Yeah, it's very fun. Yeah, and then but those are the ones that really stuck out to me. And I will say what was really fun is that like a year or so ago I watched the movie Final Girls. I don't know if you guys have ever seen, and it was so fun. It's like a movie. I really loved it. But it plays on a lot of like horror movie tropes, and it was so cool to understand all of the tropes. And that's because of Brandon. So thank you for that education.
I wanted to ask a technical question. I guess this is really for Brandon and Erin. And those who have seen the film will know what I'm talking about. At the art gallery showing, there's an infamous long shot that goes on for, I don't know how many minutes, but maybe one of you can tell me. But I wanted to know your influences towards that shot and the technical process of creating it, because it is one of the more impressive shots I've seen in a low budget horror film.
Yeah, I think it's roughly 7 minutes, the shot. It's close to that, but I'll let Erin, because I've talked about this before, and I want to hear Erin talk about it. And she's smarter and knows technical stuff, and I don't. Like, she really covers for me, so I can seem like I know what I'm doing. Like, I can be confident. Everybody get in your places, and I'm like, Erin, what do they need to do? Erin, how do we do this, Erin?
That was an awesome scene. It was written. You had the idea of it revolving. I loved it. Brandon would come up with new ways to experience the scene. So it was a constant joke. It was, and I love the context of that scene, how the artist is kind of just like a show pony in a little bit of a way. And she's just really free spirited and doing what she wants to do. But everyone is being really intellectual about what's happening. And I love getting to spin the camera around through this scene. We get to experience that in falling stages, and I thought that was a directing masterpiece, because you had to have each of the little vignettes were so properly timed, and the men and the women in this scene, if you go back and watch it again, and exactly where they were framed and standing tells a story. So it was a very visual story throughout the whole scene, but to actually execute it took all day, right? Like, how many times did we rehearsed it and rehearsed it and rehearsed it for more than half of the day? So
yeah, most of the time was spent blocking and rehearsing. We didn't run it that many times, all things considered. We were running out of time. It was like, all right, the day's on. We only have this location for 8 hours, and we spent 5 hours setting up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I'm sorry, somebody said something. I stepped on somebody. No,
I chimed in and said, yeah, it took 5 hours to set up. Like, it was a lot of setup.
And then everybody mostly got it right, because I knew there's only so many times we could do it. And everybody did a really good job of hitting their marks and hitting their lines. And we had a couple usable takes. The inspiration was Brian De Palma's Blowout. There's that great scene where Travolta's searching all of his tapes, and it's the one shot. And I just loved that shot a lot. And I thought it'd be funny because, that probably cost $200,000 or something to do that shot. Like, what if we did it for $0? How funny would that be? This super technical, precise thing, but for, instead of tons of crew and fancy equipment, we just had the camera on a tripod, and me and Erin walked in a circle while we did it. But I didn't want to do just cool shots. I tried to make sure they were part of the joke. And I didn't want to, we could have just spun it around the room, but I wanted to, no, we need to incorporate it into the material. And so I wanted to have it slowly reveal more and more jokes as we go and introduce everybody that way. So at the end, where everybody's gotten uncomfortable and left the scene, we can keep panning around and watching fewer people in the scene. Like visually people, we can see them disappearing and getting less interested.
Which I'd love to add to that. Also, kind of the mumblecore genre was part of our genre mash. Like, we did the gore, like giallo filmography mixed with mumblecore. So those kind of scenes would last forever, and have fewer cuts, which is not common for a horror genre. So I thought it was really clever to use the camera in a way that could tell the story. That was a really good bridge between how do we make fun of the Lena Dunham type films that we're seeing in a horror kind of atmosphere. So we kept the actors moving, the cameras moving, but we're not actually cutting, which was such a cool puzzle piece and challenge. And that's what made this movie so enjoyable to experience behind the scenes as well.
Sorry, I was waiting to get unmuted. Great answers. Thank you. I have a question from Lego Lambs, who wants to know, is there going to be a Slashening 3?
Lloyd, is there going to be a Slashening 3?
Well, I was just about to ask you. By the way, let's thank the great Tom D'Amico for putting all this together.
Yes, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, it's way past his bedtime. Now,
Thank you all for taking part of this. It's been great to be associated with such a great film.
Yay! Thank you, Tom. What was the? What's next for you? What do you want to do next? What are you interested in doing?
Well, next I'm writing the script for the Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD sequel, which I'm behind on. I should have had that done a month ago, and so I'm being bad. I owe the lovely Doug Sackman a lot for tolerating my tardiness. And I believe I'm going to try to do a horror comedy anthology next. I think we're sort of working about that, and then after that, Lloyd, what are we gonna do? Slashening 3, probably. But
I don't know. I really
anything you want to do, I'm down for. So I got a bunch of ideas to work with.
Oh, good. Well, we have to. Well, once you come down from the glamour and the red carpet, we'll have to have a lunch or whatever.
Party Town USA.
Party Town USA is the one I really want to do. The Fear Town sequel.
Yep.
That's pricey. But
so Wendy's not too far. We'll have a very serious luncheon.
So, we'll get all our business associates together, all the money people, and see if they want to fund Party Town USA.
Yeah.
The movie that will have the most naked penises of any movie in history. Not just mainstream, also more than any porn movie. That is Party Town USA. It will set the record.
How about animals?
Animals?
They have penises.
Yeah, but this will have more than any animal movie, any animal penises you've seen. This will be human penises, and it will just destroy the number of any movie. That is my solemn promise. And it's one thing I can guarantee is penis in a movie. We managed to routinely, much to the chagrin of a lot of our online commenters, like, why are there so many dicks in this? It's my favorite feedback.
The whale, by the way, for the next project, the penis was 82 pounds. Penis. That's flat. Strasberg would have been interested in that. Speaking of I've been watching or rewatching the Tennessee Williams Night of the Iguana with Richard Burton, Sue Lyon, and Ava Gardner. It's got all the Troma themes in it. It's unbelievable. Your thing too. It's right on your wavelength. Check it out. It's crazy. It was based on his Broadway play, which I saw as a kid, and I don't think it did that well. The movie by John Huston, who did Maltese Falcon, is terrific. Really great. A really nutty movie. How about
All
that?
the greats are nutty. All the greats are nutty, Lloyd.
It's almost in response to a previous question. Someone said, what was it like to work with Lloyd? And I think my experience, what I've learned is the pushing the boundaries for the greater good. There's a real great back there. There's actually a poeticism in how far can you take this. And I think everybody's experiencing that in this conversation already.
Brandon Bassam. How was that? One of the producers, along with John Brennan, who introduced us.
A sheer pleasure until it wasn't. But on the whole, it was a sheer pleasure.
Sounds like the last 47 years. Sorry, I hope we didn't trigger anyone. Huh?
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was exciting to try to help you make the film you wanted to make. I certainly tried to insert my opinion on occasion. Sometimes you listened, sometimes you didn't, but you made a great film. And so that was a real privilege to be a part of.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. And Marcus, how about you? What's next for you? If you don't mind my asking.
I don't know. What do you got for me?
Well, you have a sense of humor. That's pretty cool. There's not too many people who have it these days. Let me tell you.
Hey, you got to hold on to something, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Chelsea, associate director on Return to Newcomb High and, listen carefully now, Mayor, Return to Newcomb High. Associate director for 2 movies. How was that, Chelsea? And casting director.
Yeah, casting. And in fact, actually, we do have to wrap up soon. I didn't ask about casting. Let's end on that. I had the pleasure of casting a couple of films for Troma, and found it a very interesting, sometimes chaotic, but ultimately very rewarding experience once finally landing on the cast that we wanted. Brandon, what was your process of casting these fine actors and actors? How did you feel being cast in this film? Or what was the most exciting part about being in this film?
Well, casting's the easiest thing for me. I have an embarrassment of riches. Just I'm friends with and know a limitless number of some of the funniest people. They're all easy to work with, and it's mostly the castings. Like before I even write the movie, usually like, well, who do I want in this? And I try to like tailor parts. Most of the parts were tailored for the cast members. Like I think I knew who I was going to cast on almost every role. There might be 1 or 2 where people couldn't make it, and I had to get somebody else who could play it. But that's always been very easy. I had Addie as a student and just love Addie, and I had somebody recommended me to her for something I was going to shoot before and never did before I even met her. It was weird, and she's like, "She'll be perfect." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then she showed up in my class like a week later, and just a doll. I'm like, "Okay, well, Addie's in for sure." I go way back with Marcus. We go way back for doing comedy together at UCB. Gene was a student who was super funny, super cool, and then just told me like, I would love for you to kill me on screen. And I'm like, well, if that's the attitude that I like, and I can make that happen. And that's why with almost everybody in the cast, it's either people that like I was at long-term relationships with, like McManus, who plays like the Dylan, the feminist asshole. I've known him for 20 years. I used to work with him at Virgin Records in Orlando.
Wow.
So we go back and he was the Geico caveman. Which if you met him, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But almost everybody, or there's people that I've known around and wanted to work with, but haven't. Like I've seen, they're funny. Like Madonna, I've known for a while, but I hadn't had anything that I could put her in yet. First chance I could get to put her in a movie, I was like, let's bring her in. And Marcus was in Feartown, but Slashening was a small cast. So I couldn't put everybody in that I wanted. But on this one, I kind of made up for that. And like Rob Weber, who plays Papa Santangeli, and Tim Dunn, who's one of the guys getting docked. We go way back. We were all on a sketch group together more than a decade ago, and I hadn't worked them into one of the movies yet. I'm like, well, this is the time to bring in all the people that I missed on Feartown. But the casting is super easy, and everybody's really easy to work with. Because I have so many options and so many cool people, I don't have to bring in people that I don't like or don't know. And so I don't have to there's no pains in the asses. I usually, like I said, I wrote the part for the person, so there's not a lot of coaching I have to do. I'm like, you know how to do this. You're funny, and this is written for you, so I don't have to, give you line readings or anything like that. So that's always been, the casting is the easy part for me.
What's the hard part?
Everything else. Every other aspect of it is super difficult. The getting the willpower to show up every day when things keep going wrong, that's probably the single hardest part.
Yes.
Of like, everything's gone wrong, we got to buckle down and do another 20-hour shoot tomorrow. Like that's the stuff that gets, or like the movie's 60% finished, we have to finish it. Me and Mara had a lot of giving ups and a lot of like depression and a lot of like.
There were a lot of babies and illnesses and just things that happened, and it's funny how fast years go by, and you think you're so close and you got to just keep pushing forward. But yeah, devoted to it and super stoked with it, and I'm super proud of it. I mean, honestly, like when we shot Slashening, we did that within I mean, for the better part of 14 days straight, of like literally, it would be like me and Brandon not sleeping for 14 days, and then me working overnight shifts, and then coming back to set after that, and just not sleeping for days and days and days. And we pushed through that. And I think the whole goal with this was like, oh, we're going to be a little bit more like conscientious of our time. So we tried to really space stuff out. And I feel like in certain regards that worked out very well in the beginning. And then, you know, when like life gets in the way, and again, like kids get in the way, because he had his beautiful daughter, but it's like, does push stuff off a little bit. And I think the like sheer will of trying to continue to, you know, try and get financial, you know, compensation for it, or like help for it, and still be able to keep the cast and all these other bits and parts that happen over the course of 2 years of trying to finish the thing that was the toughest part, really. It was just like, who's still into making this? So we pushed through. I think we learned our lessons between like the first film and the second Slashening to kind of figure out like what our sweet spot is on how we kind of want to coordinate everything.
I should also point out Merritt does like 90% of the work.
It's true.
I do like 90% of the worrying and stress. Merritt does the actual like getting all the costumes. Yeah,
crying on my shoulder. It's a whole thing. Yeah. It's a whole other job.
Yeah. Me bitching and complaining to her to the side so the actors don't hear me having a meltdown. Merritt's got to deal with all that. She has to carry a pretty heavy workload.
And throwing temper tantrums on the LIRR, because that happens so many times. Like literal hissy fits where he was kicking garbage cans. He was like, I'm just going to go home. That's directors. We expect it. You're dramatic. We get it. You're like actually more dramatic than the actors. It's understood. So.
Yeah.
Well, certainly the devotion of Brandon's team to Brandon is better than Brandon could ever get from a shiny, fake golden statue that you can buy. Maestro! Sorry.
Congratulations, everybody. There's a lot of love happening in the chat for the cast. A lot of people, there's several people in the chat who saw the movie last night in North Hollywood Live, other people who streamed it online. Lots of great feedback here. If you are tuning in because you're curious and you haven't seen it, please go to Laemmle Virtual Cinema and purchase it for the film. There really is nothing else like it out there. Really smart.
Brandon, check this out. Sorry, Chelsea. I thought we were cutting off. I'm sorry. I'm giving it fundamental.
I just wanted to do a plug for the movie.
Well, it was a wonderful.
If anybody has any parting words they want
to. Any parting words? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just a big thanks. I'm so proud of the film. I loved every minute of working with you guys, and it's so fun. So thanks for the opportunity to be here to talk about it. Thanks for the opportunity for that, all those jobs on set that's in that credit. It's great. It's a great party.
Yeah, I'm hopping on that too, just to say thank you for having me be a part of it, and it's such a team effort. And when you watch the movie, truly imagine like hundreds of people behind it. The people here, obviously, but also just like crowdfunded and people coming in just to do a couple hours of work on one day of one of the shoots. It's really heartening. It really reminds me of New York, of like people in New York.
Yeah.
And I will just thank everyone a million times over. Again, this is like a film that has been in the process for, upward over 2 years. And we really put our hearts and souls in it and really tried to make it the best that we can make it, and really tried to improve on what we did the first 2 times. So I'm super grateful for everyone that stuck around, everyone that, ate our shitty crafty and got covered in blood and just dealt with these nuances of indie filmmaking and kind of stuck with us to make a really cool film that people really dig. It didn't go unnoticed, and I appreciate it so much. I think I'll speak for Brandon on that too, where we really are forever grateful for people's efforts. Even, this many years later, it still rings true. On a daily basis, still think about everyone involved, just still a part of our family and still a part of our lives.
Merritt also has It's a great cameo, by the way, for anybody who hasn't seen the film yet. Your cameo got a lot of love last night, so congratulations.
Baby finally got her close up.
Yeah, finally. God damn it.
I've never been able to put Merritt on screen before because she's too important behind the scenes. I can never let her be like. Sometimes I'm like the killer in scenes. I have to have Merritt like do the directing job then. So she never gets a chance to be on screen. We finally set up a scene for her to show off her beautiful face.
Thank God. And I was in the Rusty Joe scene too as an extra, and I was like, God, I hope no one notices, but I'm like, shit changes so much, no one cares. It's like
those are like 4 years apart, so it's okay.
Yeah.
You got newer tattoos too over time.
Yeah, it's
that's fascinating.
We progressed.
Same thing. Merritt already said it so much better than I could, but I thank you to everybody who worked on the movie, which I can't. I could never fully thank everybody for that. It was just so many people and so helpful. Almost like embarrassed at how helpful and how supportive everybody is. And also I want to thank Lloyd, of course, could not have done this without Lloyd. He came and saved us and we got about halfway through, and has been supporting us all along prior to that too. And of course the audience. I'm so glad that people have been watching it and enjoying it. And hopefully you tell your friends and you go look up the first movie so you can get even more jokes out of the second one. So far, I got to see the people haven't made all the connections between the first movie and the second movie yet. I'm waiting for that dissertation from someone. Get on it, nerds. Go back and start seeing how we Godfather 2 we did our first movie. Thank everybody. I really appreciate it. And thank Chelsea and Tom and everyone else too. Everybody's been so supportive. I don't know what I've done to get support or why people put up with me, but I appreciate it. I'm trying not to ask that question too much because maybe I don't want the answer. Yeah. I'm just gonna appreciate that everybody supports us.
People flock to talent.
Very true. Talent will out. And Chelsea, thank you very much. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you, Lloyd. Hi, Patty. It was a pleasure to be able to help out with this film, promoting the film and getting the word out. And it was so well received at the LA premiere. And, it's really something special. So congratulations, everybody.
Yay. Bravo. Thank you. Good night, all.
Good night,
everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, team.